I'm going to talk about someone I know personally and someone I have a lot of love and respect for personally. I've met him a few times. He was a teacher and mentor to my own sons, who are actually pretty successful jazz musicians in their own right. The person that we're going to talk about is Marthaniel Marcus Roberts. That's right, Marthaniel, kind of like Nathaniel with an M. Yeah. He was born in 1963 in Jacksonville, Florida. And by the age of 5, he was totally blind from a combination of glaucoma and very serious cataracts. He always had this ear for music, and he started tinkering and playing around with piano on his own at that very early age. And that intensified when he ended up going to the Florida State School for the Deaf and the Blind in St. Augustine, Florida, which, by the way, is the same school that Ray Charles had gone to and graduated from. So when Ray Charles came to Tampa to start his career, he came directly from St. Augustine because he had just left that school as a young man. Marcus had a similar journey, except he decided to just go up to I-10 and across to Tallahassee, where he started studying classical piano at Florida State University. He is discovered there by the great Wynton Marsalis. While Wynton's doing a residency there, and he walks by a practice room and he hears this guy playing, and wow, he's blind, what? So Wynton immediately hires him to replace Kenny Kirkland in his own band, and that launched the professional career of Marcus Roberts. My experience with him is a little bit earlier than that. You see, when I came here in 1981 to 1982, Florida State All-State Jazz Band featured a young African-American pianist who I soon discovered was blind. And I remember when I went over to the director and said, excuse me, man, that guy seems to be blind. He says, be very careful, he can hear everything. I go, oh, I'm sorry. He said, he seems blind. He said, he is. I said, so you all playing like all this music, all this new music? This guy can't possibly be reading the music. How is he getting to these rehearsals? He says, watch this. So he put up a brand new tune, and he counted it off, and everybody just started playing, and Marcus just kind of sat there rocking back and forth like I'm doing right now. And all of a sudden, he lifted his hands and started playing, and played perfectly as if he was reading the music and knew it as if he wrote it. Incredible talent, incredible ears, and perfect music memory. And that's when he's only 18 years of age. That's how I discovered him. It was not until he was actually with Wynton that I made a connection between that young man at the piano at the Florida State All-State Jazz Band in Tampa, when they had that festival, and this new phenomenal piano player that had replaced Kenny Kirkland in Wynton's band. Now, Marcus has been miscast by writers. We like to be able to pigeonhole people. And Marcus plays everything from classical to ragtime to stride. And because he's done some work with Jelly Roll Morton's music and some work with stride piano and ragtime, he has been cast as a Wynton Marsalis disciple who's stuck in that old New Orleans type music. And when I see that kind of thing, it angers me. I'm sorry, it angers me, because these people write these stories based on minimal experience and a whole lot of ignorance. And then a whole lot of people read it and regurgitate it, and the ignorance just continues. Let me straighten you out. His first album is called The Truth Is Spoken Here. You got Charlie Rouse and Elvin Jones on that album. Those are not traditional New Orleans dry piano players. These are modern jazz hard bop players. That's where he started. So how are you gonna cast him like that? Huh, that's strange. His next album is called Deep in the Shed. And he did something that jazz musicians are good at doing. He became a bridge builder. He's right there in Tallahassee. He's going to all of the jazz clubs around Tallahassee, and he is meeting and interfacing with all of the young jazz musicians who come to sit in. Those musicians included Herb Harris, tenor sax, included a young Wycliffe Gordon on trombone, included Scotty Barnhart. Now, Marcus immediately embraced those guys, and when he made his second album, Deep in the Shed, those are his featured horn players. Players who were still students at Florida A&M University. That's right, FAMU. I say it, Rattler, baby, strike and strike again. FAMU is where these guys all came from. And they're on that album. And once again, they're not playing traditional New Orleans music. So please stop typecasting musicians erroneously based on ignorance. But I digress. The music is great, and it launched careers for another generation of young musicians. That's what Marcus Roberts does. I remember my sons when they went to FAMU, and they would be leaving Marcus's house at 4 in the morning because they would go to his house to hang out, and he started them playing, and then he started these long, treacherous lessons on theory and transposition and improvisation, all this kind of stuff that would last sometime into 4 in the morning. And he did this with anyone that wanted to learn this music and had the tenacity to challenge it and take it on full bloom. Now, we talk about his jazz work, but remember he studied classical piano. And so he was commissioned by the Atlanta Symphony and Savannah Music Festival to write a piano concerto that could be played with the Atlanta Orchestra, and he did. And it's called The Emergence of the Blues, I think, piano concerto. It's his first piano concerto, and so he writes for full symphony orchestra. Yes, I know he's blind, but he's also very, very smart, and he understands and uses technology very, very well. So that's the classical side of him. I also know that he is associate director for the Savannah Music Festival, which means he is very, very much organized in this, very much the organizer of their Swing Central Music Festival, which brings jazz bands from all over the country to be clinics, educated, and to do performances in a competitive way at this festival. Marcus combines all of that. So he is also an educator, not just picking guys out of the club, but working at colleges and universities and music festivals to educate another generation of jazz musicians. Because he has decided to stay in Tallahassee and tour around the world from Tallahassee, he is not a household name. But the work he is doing is so important and so inspirational. And there's so many musicians whose careers he has launched, including my sons and Wycliffe and Scotty and Herb and Jason Marcellus and Chris Thomas and so many other great musicians who are on the scene because of Nathaniel Marcus Roberts, born in Jacksonville, Florida. That's right, a native Floridian, blind since the age of 5, but doing all of this great work. Please do not typecast this man. You cannot put him in one single box. He is a Renaissance man, so please explore the entirety of what Marcus Roberts brings to the table. Thank you very much.